You ever been in a place where everything looked fine from the outside, but deep inside, something didn't feel right? Maybe you had a good job, a decent relationship, friends you could call, but still, something in your spirit whispered, "This ain't it." Maybe you kept pushing it away, telling yourself you should be grateful, that you should stay, that it's better than nothing. But let me tell you something. Sometimes God doesn't want you to settle for better than nothing. Sometimes He wants to give you everything, and in order to do that, He's got to tell you one thing that hurts more than anything else in that moment. He's got to say, "Leave." Now I know that's a word we don't want to hear. It's uncomfortable. It's disruptive. It messes with our plans. It makes us question what we thought we knew. Leave? Leave what, Lord? Leave who? You want me to leave the place I've built my life in. You want me to walk away from people I've invested years into. You want me to step into the unknown with no guarantee, no clear map, just a word from you. That's hard. That's real hard. But let me break this down for you. Sometimes when God says leave, He's not trying to hurt you. He's not trying to punish you. He's trying to position you. He's trying to protect you. He's trying to pull out of you something you didn't even know was in you. Sometimes the very thing you're afraid to let go of is the thing that's holding you back from the more God has in store for you. You see, we like comfort, we like security, we like routine, but God is not in the business of keeping you comfortable. He's in the business of making you great. And greatness doesn't grow in comfort zones. It grows in tension. It grows in uncertainty. It grows in the wilderness, in the dry places, in the late nights where you're crying out and asking, "God, why did you bring me here?" And He gently responds, "Because here is where you find me. Here is where you find you." When God called Abraham, He didn't give him a blueprint. He didn't show him a vision board. He just said, "Go to the land I will show you." That's it. Go. Leave. And Abraham had to trust the voice more than the vision. Some of us want the whole plan before we take the first step, but faith doesn't work like that. Faith says, "God, I don't know where this road leads, but if you're telling me to walk, I'm walking." See, there's power in obedience, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it costs you something. Sometimes obedience means leaving a job that pays well but drains your soul. Sometimes obedience means walking away from a relationship that looks good in photos, but leaves you empty behind closed doors. Sometimes obedience means saying goodbye to friends who don't feed your growth, only your ego. It's not always obvious either. Sometimes God won't yell it from the mountaintop. Sometimes it's a quiet nudge, a subtle shift, a growing discomfort, a deep knowing that something's got to change, and if you ignore it long enough, God will allow things to start falling apart just to get your attention. Not because He's cruel, but because He loves you too much to let you stay stuck. Leaving isn't just about geography. It's about mentality. It's about leaving behind limiting beliefs, destructive habits, toxic mindsets. Sometimes the thing God wants you to leave is the version of you that's addicted to approval, the version of you that doubts your worth, the version of you that's scared to dream bigger because you've been disappointed before. Sometimes God is saying, "Leave that small thinking behind. I've got more for you." But here's the thing. More doesn't come easy. More isn't handed to you. More requires faith, resilience, sacrifice. And that's why God doesn't always explain the more upfront. Because if you knew how hard it would be to get there, you might not go. But if you knew how worth it would be, you wouldn't stay. You gotta trust that when God says leave, He's already prepared the more. You're not leaving empty-handed. You're leaving with purpose. You're leaving with divine backing. You're leaving with a promise, even if you can't see the fulfillment yet. And sometimes all God needs is your yes. That's it, just your yes. I've seen it in my own life. Moments when I thought I was losing everything, opportunities, connections, even my sense of direction. But what I didn't realize at the time was that I was actually being redirected. God was clearing the clutter, making space, stretching me, pruning me, because He knew I couldn't carry more. If I was still holding on to what was never meant for me, and let's be honest, sometimes we're the ones holding ourselves hostage. Not the job, not the relationship, not the city, us, because we're afraid. We're afraid of being alone, afraid of failing, afraid of starting over. But let me tell you something. Starting over with God is better than staying stuck without Him. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to have the courage to take the first step. When you finally say yes to leaving what no longer serves you, you make room for what God has been waiting to give you. You start walking different, talking different, believing different. You stop surviving and start thriving. You stop chasing people and start chasing purpose. You stop playing small and start showing up like you were born to lead. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have nights when you question if you heard God right. You're going to face storms that make you want to run back to what's familiar. But don't go back. Don't settle. Don't shrink. Keep going. Keep believing. Keep trusting. Because on the other side of your obedience is a version of you that's stronger, wiser, freer. I know it hurts right now. I know you're scared. But you weren't made to stay comfortable. You were made to conquer. You weren't made to play it safe. You were made to walk by faith. And sometimes faith means packing your bags, leaving your comfort zone, and stepping into the unknown with nothing but a whisper from God that says, I got you. And that whisper, it's enough. See, sometimes God has to break what's familiar to build what's divine. He's not trying to rob you. He's trying to reveal you. He's trying to show you who you really are, what you really carry, what you were really born to do. And that can't happen if you keep holding on to what's already expired. Sometimes the blessing is not in the staying, it's in the leaving, and the miracle is not in what you lost, it's in what you found when you finally let go. So if you hear that whisper tonight, if you feel that pull in your spirit, if the ground beneath you is shaking and nothing feels like it used to, don't panic, don't run back, don't numb it. That's not chaos. That's calling, that's not confusion, that's confirmation. That's not the end, that's the beginning. Because when God says leave, He's not just moving you, He's maturing you, He's molding you, He's making you ready for what's next. And what's next, that's the more you've been praying for. So go ahead, take the step, close the chapter, move your feet, even if your heart is still catching up. You'll look back one day and realize that the hardest thing you ever did was also the best thing you ever did. Because sometimes God says leave just to help you discover more. And here's what's even deeper. You won't always understand what God is doing when He says leave. You won't always feel peace right away. You might even feel like you're making the biggest mistake of your life. Because the enemy knows that when you're on the brink of breakthrough, the best thing he can do is flood your mind with doubt. He'll tell you you're walking away from everything you built, you're leaving stability, you're losing people, you're going to regret this. But hear me when I tell you, God's voice doesn't sound like fear. It doesn't sound like guilt. It doesn't sound like shame. It sounds like conviction wrapped in love. It sounds like stillness in the middle of your chaos. It sounds like truth that won't let you go, even when you try to ignore it. And don't be surprised when other people don't understand your decision. They didn't hear what you heard. They didn't feel what you felt in your spirit. They weren't there in the midnight hour when God whispered direction into your soul. They didn't see the signs. They didn't feel the shift. That instruction wasn't for them. It was for you. So stop waiting for their approval. Stop trying to explain divine direction to people who only understand logic. This isn't about logic. This is about destiny. And sometimes destiny looks foolish before it looks faithful. You might walk alone for a while. You might feel like everything you once leaned on has been stripped away. But let me tell you something. When God pulls you away from people, from comfort, from structure, He's trying to become your source. He's trying to teach you how to lean on Him like never before. And in that season of loneliness, something beautiful happens. You begin to hear him more clearly. You begin to depend on him more deeply. You begin to realize that his presence is not just enough. It's everything. Now, let's talk about fear, because it always shows up when God calls us to move. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of not being enough. But let me be real with you. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is the courage to move in spite of fear. It's standing at the edge of uncertainty and saying, Lord, I don't know what's next, but I know who's leading me, so I'll go. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith shifts atmospheres. That kind of faith activates heaven on your behalf. And sometimes the very act of leaving is what opens the door to your miracle. Think about it. How many breakthroughs have been delayed because you refused to move? How many prayers have gone unanswered, not because God didn't hear you, but because He's waiting on your obedience? See, we keep asking God for new things while clinging to old patterns. We want new doors to open, but we're still camped outside the one that already closed. We want new relationships, new opportunities, new beginnings, but we're still watering dead soil. And God is saying, as long as you're holding on to what I told you to release, I can't give you what I prepared. Leaving takes courage. It takes trust, but more than anything, it takes surrender. Surrender means saying, God, I don't just want what I think is best for me. I want what you know is best. It means releasing control. It means letting go of the outcome. It means believing that even if the path looks dark, God's hand is still guiding your steps. And as you walk, don't be surprised when pain comes. Growth is painful. Elevation is painful. Separation is painful. But pain doesn't mean you're going the wrong way. Pain means you're being stretched, and every stretch is making room for something greater. Just like a tree must shed its leaves to make way for new life, you've got to shed what no longer fits your future. You can't bring everything with you. You can't take everyone with you. And that's okay, because what God has ahead of you is bigger than what's behind you. And let me speak to the part of you that feels like you've wasted time, like you've been stuck too long, like you missed your moment. Let me tell you something right now. Nothing is wasted in the hands of God. Not one tear, not one setback, not one heartbreak. God uses everything. Even the detours, even the delays, even the wrong turns. And when He says leave, it's not because your time was wasted. It's because your time is up. And what's coming next requires everything you've learned, everything you've endured, everything you've survived. It all mattered, it all counts, and when you finally take that step, when you finally let go and follow His voice, something shifts inside you. You start seeing things differently. You stop chasing things that don't feed you. You stop entertaining confusion. You stop begging to be seen because you realize you've already been chosen. You walk with more clarity, more confidence, more conviction. Not because you have it all figured out, but because you know who sent you. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He doesn't need you to be perfect. He needs you to be willing, willing to leave, willing to trust, willing to stretch, willing to grow, willing to believe that if He brought you this far, He's not about to drop you now. And listen, don't despise the process. The process is the preparation. That wilderness season, that lonely chapter, that quiet place where nobody saw you grinding, healing, crying, praying. That's where strength is forged. That's where character is built. That's where purpose is revealed. Everybody wants the promise, but few are willing to walk the path. But if you can endure the process, the promise will find you. And sometimes the more God has for you isn't just about things. It's not always about money or success or recognition. Sometimes the more is peace. Sometimes the more is healing. Sometimes the more is freedom from cycles that kept your family in bondage for generations. Sometimes the more is knowing your worth so deeply that you'll never again settle for less than you deserve. So when you feel that divine nudge, that holy discomfort, don't resist it. Don't run from it. Lean into it, pray through it, ask God, what are you calling me to leave so I can experience more? And when He answers, don't delay, don't debate, don't disobey, just move, and don't let the transition trick you. Just because the journey starts with loss doesn't mean it ends in defeat. The pruning always comes before the harvest. The silence always comes before the breakthrough. The breaking always comes before the blessing. That's the pattern. That's the rhythm of glory. And if you can hold on, if you can trust the process, you'll come out on the other side stronger, wiser, and more whole than you've ever been. You'll see why the door had to close, why the relationship had to end, why the job had to fall through, why the opportunity passed you by, because what's coming next wouldn't have fit where you were. It needed space. It needed faith. It needed a new version of you. And you can't become new while holding on to old. So let the tears fall if they must. Let your heart break if it needs to. Let the uncertainty come. But don't stop. Don't turn back. Don't give up. Because the same God who said leave is the same God who will sustain you, guide you, and bless you every step of the way. The journey may start in fear, but it ends in favor. The road may be rough, but the destination is divine. And when you finally arrive at the more God had in mind for you, you'll look back at everything you left behind and say, "Thank you, God, for calling me out. Thank you for saying leave, because now I know this is what I was born for." And sometimes the greatest challenge in walking away is not the physical movement, it's the emotional detachment. You can leave a place and still be chained to it in your mind. You can walk out of a relationship, but still carry its wounds like a weight in your chest. You can leave a season behind, but still be haunted by the voices that told you you'd never make it without them. That's why when God tells you to leave, He's not just relocating your body. He's renewing your mind. He's trying to get you to unlearn the lies you were taught in survival. He's trying to get you to release the identity you built out of brokenness. You see, some of us don't even know who we are without the pain. We've carried rejection so long, it feels like home. We've walked with fear so long, it feels like a friend. But God is saying, I can't give you more if you keep identifying with what was meant to be temporary. I'm calling you out, not just out of a place, but out of a posture. And this is where it gets real, because when God is transforming you, He doesn't just upgrade your circumstances, He disrupts your comfort. You'll start to feel out of place in rooms you once celebrated being in. You'll notice your spirit getting agitated around conversations that used to excite you. You'll find yourself craving quiet, craving purpose, craving truth. That's the shift. That's how you know God is stirring something deeper. He's detaching you from counterfeit comfort so He can anchor you in authentic calling. You'll feel like you're losing your grip on everything you knew. But that's not loss. That's freedom. That's God loosening your grip on things that were never meant to hold you so tightly. You thought you needed that job to feel valuable, that person to feel loved, that position to feel important. But God is saying, let it go. Your worth was never in those things. It was always in me. And when you really let go, when you surrender the illusion of control, you create room for God to do what only He can do. That's when doors start opening that no man can shut. That's when divine connections start showing up. People who see you, people who honor your calling, people who speak to your purpose, not just your performance. That's when opportunities find you, not because you're striving, but because you're aligned. That's when your life stops being a grind and starts being a testimony. But it all starts with obedience, with leaving. Now let me talk to the part of you that's tired, tired of trying, tired of being strong, tired of believing for more when all you've seen is less. You're not weak for feeling that way. You're human, but don't let tiredness convince you to settle. Don't let disappointment become your destiny. Sometimes God allows the weariness so you'll finally stop trying to do it in your own strength and lean fully into Him. Because what He has for you doesn't come by might, doesn't come by hustle, doesn't come by manipulation. It comes by His Spirit. And when He breathes on something, no obstacle can stand against it. No enemy can block it. No delay can deny it. But you've got to get into position. And that means moving when He says move. It means trusting even when there's no proof yet. It means walking like you already have it, even when you can't see it. Faith is not passive. Faith is motion. Faith is stepping out on the water with nothing beneath you but a word. Faith is saying yes before you see the how. Faith is being willing to look foolish in the world's eyes so you can be favored in God's. And here's what's beautiful. You're never really alone in this process. God walks with you. He sends provision. He sends confirmation. He speaks in ways only you can understand. A song at the right moment. A scripture that jumps off the page. A stranger's encouragement that hits like lightning to your soul. That's not coincidence. That's God letting you know He's still in this. He's still with you. He's still guiding the journey, even when you can't see the path. But don't expect the road to be smooth. There will be resistance. There will be battles. Sometimes it'll feel like the moment you stepped out in obedience, all hell broke loose. But that's not a sign that you made the wrong move. That's a sign that the enemy got nervous. Because he knows when you start walking in purpose, you become dangerous. When you finally see yourself the way God sees you, you become unstoppable. And so the attacks come, not to destroy you, but to distract you. To make you question the voice you heard. To make you think you should turn back. But don't you dare turn back. Don't you dare go back to what God freed you from just because the wilderness is uncomfortable. You're not lost. You're just becoming. You're not behind. You're being prepared. You're not forgotten. You're being hidden for the right time. You're not cursed. You're being cultivated. Trust the timing. Trust the tension. Trust the tearing, because it's making room for glory. And sometimes the more God is leading you to doesn't even make sense to the world. Sometimes the more is less noise and more clarity, less spotlight and more impact, less applause and more authenticity. You might not get celebrated for choosing purpose. You might not trend for choosing obedience, but you'll have peace, and peace is priceless. So stop apologizing for outgrowing spaces that no longer serve your destiny. Stop shrinking to fit into rooms God told you to leave. Stop explaining your obedience to people who benefit from your disobedience. You don't owe anyone an explanation for answering the call. You only owe God your yes. And when you give Him that yes, fully, wholeheartedly, unconditionally, He takes it and turns it into something extraordinary. And I know you might be wondering, but what if I leave and nothing better comes? That's fear talking. That's trauma talking. That's not God. God didn't call you out to abandon you. He called you out to advance you. He's not a God of empty promises. He's a God of fulfillment, and He's not finished writing your story. So don't judge the next chapter based on your current line. Don't assume that because the road is rough, the destination isn't worth it. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep believing. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of obedience, a version of you who walks in freedom, who speaks with boldness, who lives with purpose, who no longer seeks validation because they know they're already enough. That version of you is real, that version of you is possible, but you'll never meet them if you stay in places God said to leave. So take the step. Burn the bridge if you have to. Walk away even if your voice trembles. Leave with tears in your eyes if necessary. Just don't stay stuck. Don't let fear rob you of your future. Don't let comfort become your cage. Don't let loyalty to dysfunction keep you from your destiny. You were made for more. You were chosen for more. And if God is telling you to leave, it's because what's coming is greater than anything you're leaving behind. It won't all make sense right away. It won't all feel good. But it will all work together, every moment, every move, every tear, every prayer. It will all align in time. So let go. Trust God. Move forward. Because when God says leave, He's not pushing you away. He's pulling you into purpose. And that, my friend, is the beginning of everything you were born to become. And when you finally take that step, when your feet leave the ground of familiarity, and you walk into that unknown place where your only companion is faith, you will begin to feel a different kind of strength rise in you. Not the strength that comes from self-reliance, not the kind that's born out of pride or past victories, but the kind that comes from full dependence on God. It's a strength that whispers, even here, I've got you. A strength that doesn't need to understand the whole picture to trust the painter. A strength that stands not because it has everything figured out, but because it knows the one who holds it all together. Sometimes God strips you down, not to punish you, but to rebuild you. To tear away everything artificial, everything performative, everything that kept you bound so He can show you who you really are. Because there's a version of you that exists outside of people's opinion. A version that's not shaped by rejection, not held together by approval, not defined by accomplishments or titles. That's the you God wants to introduce to the world. But first, He has to get you alone. He has to get you away from the noise. He has to remove the filters, peel back the layers, expose the false comforts, and say, now, let's begin. And that process, oh, it's not pretty, it's raw, it's real. It's humbling, it's lonely, you'll cry some nights, you'll question your sanity, you'll look back at what you left and wonder if you made a mistake. But then, little by little, something shifts. You start to see how much lighter you feel without the burdens you carried. You start to notice how much clearer your thoughts become when you're not surrounded by confusion. You start to feel free, not just externally, but internally, and you'll realize that what God was doing wasn't just relocation, it was transformation. He wasn't just taking you to a new place, He was creating a new you. You'll begin to see that every closed door was protection, every betrayal was redirection, every delay was development, and the silence. That wasn't absence, that was intimacy. God wasn't ignoring you, He was inviting you into deeper trust, into deeper maturity, into a love that's not based on blessings, but based on relationship. That's where real faith is born. Not when everything is going right, but when everything is being stripped away, and you still lift your hands and say, God, I trust you. You see, when God says leave, it's not rejection, it's revelation. It's the revealing of your next, the unveiling of your more, and more isn't always immediate. Sometimes it's hidden behind seasons of obscurity, behind moments of doubt, behind closed doors and quiet mornings where all you have is prayer. But even then, especially then, God is working. He's orchestrating. He's weaving things together behind the scenes, and what looks like stillness to you is strategy to Him. Because God is strategic. He doesn't waste moves. He doesn't just open doors. He prepares you for the door. And sometimes the reason the door hasn't opened yet is because you're still carrying things that can't go with you. Attitudes, mindsets, wounds, bitterness, fear, and God is saying, I'm not denying you the blessing. I'm protecting it from the version of you that isn't ready to steward it yet. So He says leave, not just to move you, but to mold you, to strip you so He can shape you, to quiet you so He can speak to you, to isolate you so He can elevate you. And when that elevation comes, when you finally begin to see the fruit of what you obeyed, it won't just be about success. It'll be about substance. You won't just be blessed. You'll be whole. You'll be anchored. You'll be rooted in something deeper than applause, deeper than money, deeper than followers or fame. You'll be rooted in your identity in Christ. And that kind of foundation, it can't be shaken because you didn't build it on hype. You built it on His word, so let the leaving be what it needs to be. Let it hurt. Let it break you if it must. Let it strip away everything fake, everything shallow, everything that distracted you from the real reason you're here. Because on the other side of obedience is not just more, it's meaning, it's purpose. It's the kind of life that makes sense in heaven, even if it looks strange on earth. And let me tell you something else. Not everyone is going to understand your journey, and that's okay. They weren't assigned to it. They didn't hear the call like you did. Don't waste your energy trying to convince people who were never meant to go where you're going. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them say, you changed. Because the truth is, you did. And that's the whole point. Growth requires change. Destiny requires detachment. You can't become who you're meant to be while clinging to who you were. Sometimes you've got to disappoint people to obey God. Sometimes you've got to walk away from good things to receive God things. Sometimes you've got to lose the crowd to find your calling. And when you do, you'll realize you were never alone. God was always right there. In the breaking, in the walking, in the weeping, in the becoming, He was there, and He was building something eternal. Because God is not just trying to give you a better life. He's trying to give you a legacy. Something that outlives you, something that shifts generations, something that echoes in heaven. And legacies aren't built in comfort zones. They're built in obedience, in faith, in sacrifice. In moments when you say, I don't know where this is leading, but I trust who's leading me. So don't despise the leaving, don't resist the transition, don't romanticize what God told you to release. You're not leaving something good for something less. You're being called to something greater. And greater often starts with goodbye. Goodbye to versions of yourself that played small. Goodbye to habits that kept you stuck. Goodbye to environments that tolerated you but never truly valued you. And when you look back, and you'll see it, the divine fingerprints on every move, the grace that carried you, the mercy that caught you, the favor that found you, you'll see how every loss was a setup, how every no was a redirection, how every delay was God saying, not yet, I'm still working behind the scenes. And you'll thank Him not just for the blessings, but for the breakings. Because the breaking made you real, the breaking made you whole, the breaking made you ready, so keep walking, keep trusting, keep stretching. You don't need to see the whole map. Just take the next step. God's got you. He's not just leading you to more. He's leading you to meaning. And when you arrive, when you step into that new season, that new place, that new identity, you'll look around and realize it was all worth it. Every tear, every lonely night, every moment of doubt, every time you wanted to turn back but didn't, it was all part of the process. It was all part of the plan. And it all started the moment God said leave. So when God says leave, don't second guess it. Don't delay. Don't look back wishing for what was. Walk forward, boldly, humbly, faithfully, because what's ahead of you is greater than anything you're leaving behind. The pain may last for a night, but joy will come in the morning. And when it does, you'll understand that the leaving wasn't just about loss. It was about launch. It was God positioning you, preparing you, and propelling you into the very purpose He planted in you from the beginning. Trust Him, move when He says move, because on the other side of obedience is more.